welcome back to Gay by Gay. Woo!
Hi, everybody. Happy Pride. How's it going?
Pride. We hope you're doing great and amazing, and you are beautiful and lovely and handsome, and we love you.
And honestly, for all of our U.S. listeners, we love you. We hope you're enjoying Pride. To all of our Canadian listeners, we also hope that you're enjoying Pride, and we are so sorry that you were stuck in the same ship that we are, of not being able to really go out and celebrate. Or if you are going out and celebrating, I mean, we're not going to tell any of the COVID ambassadors.
At least
Did you know that that's actually what they're called?
COVID ambassadors?
Yeah.
Weird.
You know what it sounds like to me? The Catchers. Papers, Please. The Gestapo. Any of those negative things. I'm not a conspiracy theorist, I swear.
Anyways,
although if you want me to rant about my conspiracies, I totally will.
Have you ever heard that conspiracy that Michael Jackson is still alive?
Honestly, I don't believe any of those.
Yeah.
The ones that interest me, like frickin' Amelia Earhart.
Yeah.
Why does everyone blame the Bermuda Triangle? She wasn't anywhere close to it.
Yeah. I don't know.
You guys just wait for October.
Yeah.
You guys just wait for October. You guys know that Spoopy month is my month.
Spoopy?
You guys know that I
Spooky.
am just waiting for all of the unsolved mysteries that we're going to go over in October. I am planning it already.
Alrighty, so we're back with Stone Butch Blues today.
Yep.
Part 1 was before.
Make sure to check that out.
Yes.
Make sure to listen to it because
we're continuing.
We are continuing, and there will be major spoilers because we're going over the end of the book and everything. So make sure you either read the book first or make sure you go through the first part first. Well,
first part first.
But make sure you go through that to make sure that you actually know where we're sitting. In the story.
Yeah. Remember that it is free online on Leslie Feinberg's website, and you can check it out for free there. I am blessed enough to have a print copy because
you do. It's sitting in front of us.
Yeah. When I first came out, Leslie Feinberg's widow actually put it out at print cost, so there's no profits or anything made off of it. Just
honestly, the thing that I find so interesting about this book in particular and this author in particular, it doesn't even seem like. Writing a book takes a lot of effort. Let me just say that straight up. Writing a book takes a lot of effort, and I find it so interesting that she's writing such content, but literally doing everything she can to make it accessible. This is not about a money-making venture for her, although it totally could be. It's not about making the money for her. It is all about spreading awareness and spreading the story. Yeah. And I absolutely love that sharing of knowledge and education. I love it. Yeah. I'm all about it.
Amazing activist. But yeah, I was so happy to get one of the print copies because I think it was only, I don't know if it's still in print and you can buy it, but I really don't think so. It was really limited time.
Even then, just knowing that it's out there for free, that you can access it. Yeah. That's huge.
I know.
Every resource matters, and to have such a major resource be free.
So good.
Huge.
So good. Okay, let's keep going. So we got into some of the feminist stuff. Teresa attends feminist meetings where they see her love of Butch's as kind of a betrayal towards their movement. Yeah. We talked about that before. At the same time, meanwhile, Jess starts questioning her gender, learns about medical transition. This is important because in the story, Jess got injured. Things are blowing up union-wise, where it's really hard to get a job as a Butch right now.
Oh, I see.
In the story. So Jess basically has to be like, so I kind of either transition or I die, or I starve.
Like she's very much seeing like this is her only way out.
Pretty much.
So the question for me, just really making sure that I'm understanding, does she actually want to transition? Like, does she actually see herself as being male, or is she doing it out of desperation?
It was more like it talks about this early in Jess's childhood where Jess is kind of like, well, I don't feel like a boy or a girl. I'm kind of neither. It is said,
genderless.
Yeah, it is said in the book that Jess does, hate her breasts, doesn't like that sort of stuff, but also doesn't really identify as a man.
Okay.
Yeah. So there is really no binary.
She floats in the gray.
Yeah, there is really no binary there. But Jess decides to pursue medical transition. Teresa disapproves and they break up. They have a fight. Teresa says basically, you would still be you, but I don't want to date a man even if that man's a woman. Which is, all of these points are very valid, but still it's so rich in context.
I feel like that is actually something that we do still struggle with now, where it's that question of, you know, for the longest time, you hesitated to come out because you were afraid that even some of the people closest to you, like me,
Yeah.
would react differently
Yeah.
to you. I took the mindset of you're still you.
Yeah.
And even now, you're still evolving and changing
Yeah.
before my eyes. When
Yeah.
you first came out as a lesbian, you still had the long hair
Yeah.
and you were still fairly
Yeah.
girly and everything else. And now at this point, you look like fucking Jimmy Hopkins
Yeah.
from Bully, the video
Yeah,
game.
I do.
And I'm just
Amazing.
kind of like, okay, whatever.
Tough.
If you haven't seen Aaliyah's new haircut,
Yeah.
make sure to check out our
I
vlog.
give myself a buzz cut. It was awesome.
It's amazing.
It was awesome.
I felt it today. It's amazing.
Yeah, it is so good.
But I'm still very much of the mind that I'm left sitting here going, you're still you.
Yeah.
Yes, there are certain things that are changing. Like, do you speak the exact same way you used to? No. Do you like the exact same things you used to? No. But when you're dealing with people are constantly evolving and changing. So you have to expect that.
A lot of Teresa's perspective was affected by how things were moving in the community at that time. When you're going out and people are seeing you, a lot of people thought that, like, oh, you're not a lesbian if your partner is medically transitioned, if your partner passes as a man.
That really kind of messes me up, especially just knowing now that trans is absolutely... I mean, we have the LGBT at this point. I guess it wasn't really at that point.
It was there, but a lot of people were against it. They were like, gay's okay, but trans isn't. Because
it's just very interesting to me because they've definitely got this whole thing where it's very much that sort of like, well, if they transition, then they are a man, and that makes you a straight couple. And it's like, what?
It differs depending on how they identify, but yeah.
I'm sure there were different thoughts at the time.
They fight, they end up breaking up. Jessa's really heartbroken. It's so sad. I cried.
Married.
They were married. I cried so hard.
Whose decision was it to break it off?
They both. Well, mostly Teresa, though.
Okay.
Because Teresa was like, I'm not okay with this. I don't want people to see me like that. And
I also struggle because that is a fair and legitimate
It's all
thing.
valid, but it's just so rich in context.
And honestly, this is still like
They're
a modern
both valid.
struggle. And I think that's why it hits so close to home. This is still a modern struggle where, you know, if someone transitions, you may, as a lesbian, not be comfortable with that anymore. And that is equally valid because you are a lesbian. You didn't sign up for a masculine relationship. So
it's everyone's really like
no one's in
choice,
the wrong, but no one's in the right. That's hard.
Yeah, it's
that's
a
moral
good
gray
book.
area.
It is. But Jess goes on, gets top surgery, and goes on to, this is all underground kind of thing because they weren't doing that.
Well, I mean, I can't,
people.
if they're freaking out about women wearing men's clothes, I can't see them being okay with women going, hey, I want to get my boobs chopped off.
It was basically, we're going to sneak you in, we're going to do this underground, you're not going to get any aftercare, you're going to get your surgery, you're going to get up and leave. And it's not safe, and like
you have to know that. You have to know that going into it.
Yeah, you could very much die of infection or shit like that.
Very much so.
Yeah.
Those are big wounds.
Jess goes on to passes as a male for a number of years. Gets a job, is accepted.
Does she keep her name as Jess, or
I think they call her Jessie.
I was gonna say I'm assuming that she must change it at least a little bit.
But yeah, and at this point, you got to keep in mind that a lot of this also is probably fueled by the fact that, hey, I've lived my life like this and I've gotten nothing but hurt by people. It's often.
Not easy. It's not easy.
And you kind of have that feeling, well, if I just do this, I am not going to be punished for who I am every single day.
It's the fight or flight, you know what I mean? And eventually you're just like, is the fight even worth it? Or is it better to just be underground and be quiet?
Yeah. So at this point, while feeling safer than before, it goes...
Especially, let's be real here, she transitioned to being a male, which I feel like at this point, if no one realizes that she's not a male, she's going to have it way easier because now she doesn't even have to deal with the bullshit that other girls have to deal with.
Of course, but has complex feelings about losing her visibility as a lesbian, basically. Because, and it goes into in the book about how, like, Jess notices how when she might walk down the street that if there's a mother with children up ahead of her, they'll cross the other side. Like, stuff that you see differently.
Yeah.
From being, like...
Because she was once a woman herself, but now everyone else's perception is that she's male, so she's going to be treated differently.
Yeah. And it goes a lot into that as well, and it's amazing.
I think that's also very interesting, though, because it's also a commentary on what some men at the time had to go through. That's a very hard line to cross, because it's from a woman's perspective. Yeah. That's really hard to pull off.
I know, it's so good. We'll take a break now, because...
we're getting really into the thick of it. Yeah.
Well, we're almost at the end of the book.
Okay. Ending is next.
Ending is soon.
Stay tuned.
Ooh. Hello, and welcome back to Gay. Bye. Gay. Woo! So let's continue on with Stone Butch Blues.
Yeah, I want to hear the end of this. I'm actually very invested.
So
more than in any of the gay erotica that you forced us to read.
I know. So after many years of passing as male, Jess decides to go off of tea. It is now more safe for her to do so.
And by tea, we don't mean like Earl Grey.
No.
We mean testosterone.
Yeah.
Just to make that clear.
Yeah. But yeah, she goes off tea and doesn't pass as a male anymore, or doesn't really pass as a female either, in gray area.
She's got the androgyny that she wanted.
Yeah, she's more comfortable in her body now and kind of more comfortable with the situation in itself.
How is she perceived mostly?
Still pretty much as before. As, like, female pretending to be male. We don't know what you are.
Okay. So it's not like she's
weird.
Masculine.
Yeah.
Like, okay.
It's gray area. But yeah, she also moves to New York City. Yeah.
My home.
Yeah. And her neighbor is a trans woman, and they become very good friends.
That.
Yeah,
what are
very
the chances
good friends.
of that?
I know. Well, New York City.
I mean, also New York City, and also fiction. To be fair.
Bad shit is still happening. There's a part.
Yeah.
There's a part where Jess gets beaten up in like the subway, and like has to.
How old is she at this point? Like 30?
30s, 40s.
Okay.
Old. And now has to hobble home.
You say old, I say middle-aged.
I know.
Thank you.
But yeah, Jess then does activist work in the city because now there's marches and shit, basically.
It's really starting to go down.
Yeah, for rights and all of that. And so she does activist work in the city. She gets to know this trans woman. They become friends and they become really close. And eventually, Jess goes back to Buffalo to reconnect with old friends. There's a situation there. There's actually a really good thing that I really like. So one of Jess's Butch friends in previous chapters reveals that she is dating another Butch. And even back then, that was a big no-no as well. Jess gets mad.
Really?
Like, because back then, Butches would date femmes.
But I thought the whole point was that you were gay, so why is a Butch dating a Butch a big deal? How is that different than a guy dating a guy that's also gay?
Because it's different in the community. It's bad back then for everyone. Everyone's bad. But
even that, I find it so interesting that even within the gay community, you see those boxes that you...
Yeah.
And you know what, to some extent, I still feel like those do exist, where in order to be part of the community, you have to tick off all of these very specific boxes.
Yeah.
And it's odd that I see the same rigid thinking in, like, hetero culture and hetero and homo culture.
Just being in that, even if you're in that community, you're still raised by those standards that are horrible. Even if they're against you.
You're going to naturally seek them out anyway.
Yeah. So this other Butch reveals that she's dating a Butch, and then Jess gets upset about this and is like, don't talk to me. You're gross, basically. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I would not have expected that from her, though.
She leaves. In one of the later chapters, she calls her up and is like, hey, I'm sorry that I did that. That was awful. And reconnects with them. And then Jess goes to meet with one of the first Butches she ever met. And it's very sad. It's so sad. Oh my gosh. Basically what happened, I didn't go into this in detail, but this is basically the end. They reconnect. Life has a full circle moment for her.
Right.
That's the end of the book.
One of the first ones she ever met, another back together.
So, Butch Al is one of the first Butches that Jess ever meets. And basically Butch Al kind of takes Jess in and is like, hey, be proud of who you are. It's okay.
She's kind of like her guide, I guess,
basically.
into the LGBT community.
In Jess's early teen years, probably when Jess was like 15, 16, 17.
Okay.
It is then one of my favorite kind of moments in the book is Butch Al's femme. I think it's Jacqueline, but I'm not sure. You got Butch Al and Jacqueline, and Jacqueline kind of they're trying to tell Jess about how sex works, basically.
Yeah, okay.
When you're
I can imagine that's
and in
a
general.
little hard.
And basically they're holding the strap on, and Jacqueline goes, with this, you either make a woman feel good or you remind her of all the time she's been hurt in her life.
Oh.
And that, I still remember that to this day because it's one of the biggest moments, and you're like, wow, yeah, you're so right.
That says a lot.
Yeah, and basically, yeah, so they were very close to just growing up, and then their club gets raided. That first club gets shut down completely. Butch Al is kind of really abused and mutilated there when the club was raided, and then basically Butch Al is so humiliated that she doesn't go back home. She doesn't reconnect with Jacqueline. Jacqueline actually goes back to being a sex worker. Jess runs into Jacqueline on the street and finds Jacqueline like high and stuff, and Jess is kind of like, I gotta go now, like, and that's when Jess moved away actually, and so
it's just hurt to see the the fall.
Yeah, and it's kind of like I feel like, I don't know, I wasn't there, but in that moment you feel like a ticking time bomb because you're like, is this my future?
Yeah, I could see that from Jess's perspective, especially because those were kind of her mentors, and now she's looking at them having fallen from grace in some ways, and she's going, is that all that lies ahead of me as well? So
Jess goes back to Buffalo at the end of the book, older, and goes to find Butch Al, and everyone that Jess reconnects with says, you don't want to know what's going on with Butch Al, like, you don't want to know. Jess finds out that Butch Al is in a psychiatric institution, will not talk to anyone, will not look at anyone, over some time, and Jess goes in, kind of sits down, starts talking to Butch Al, and basically Butch Al says something to her and then dies.
Oh.
Straight up dies. Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah. And that's like close to the end of the book, and it's so sad. Okay. I want to find this so bad now. Oh my gosh. It's so
really sad.
I cried so much for this book. So much for this book. It's so sad.
Oh man. I was expecting something kind of like sad and melancholic. I don't know that I was really expecting that level of gravity at the end.
It's so good.
I mean, this book has been so much read. As much as it's fiction, it seems very real and very raw. So maybe it shouldn't surprise me, but still.
But basically,
you're like reading it, yeah.
Yeah. Butch Al and Jess start talking, and Butch Al is kind of stuck in the past, and Butch Al keeps saying, "Don't bring me back. Like, don't make me talk to you." Basically, I don't want to talk to you because that's gonna bring back all the memories, right?
Yeah, and that's hard.
Yeah. So Jess kind of says, forgive me, because I think that Jess ends up dating once Butch Al's ex or something. Throughout the book, so they had a little stuff, and Butch Al tries to be like, "Oh, don't bring me back there. Leave the old days alone. I'm dead now. Like, I'm here." Like,
she just wants to be dead.
Yeah, and Jess is like, "But you're not dead. You just got hurt real bad, and it's gonna be okay." Like, that, it's so sad. Aww. It's so sad, and it's so sad.
Aww.
So sad, but it's such a good book.
Honestly, I'm really thinking that I'm gonna go ahead and check it out, and you guys out there should too. Like, honestly, I kind of want to experience this for myself now.
It's so good. It's so bad. I'm gonna read it again.
You're gonna read it again and cry. Yeah.
I'm gonna cry even more. Oh my gosh.
So for you, knowing that you do kind of identify as more mask, I would not say that you're. Do you think that you're
I identify as Butch.
I was gonna say, are you going Butch? Because before you were mask, because we did like the whole episode on lesbian archetypes, and I think you said at the time that you were mask, not Butch. Are you going Butch now?
Yeah.
Yeah?
You could put it that way, but yeah.
So, did this book have an impact on the path that you have taken with your sexuality?
I think so, because I don't think I ever really related to anything as much as when I read this book for the first time. Mm-hmm. Anything at all. Because, like, I remember reading it.
What was it that really stuck with you? Was it the hatred? Was it the fighting oppression? What was it?
I think a lot of it was the fact that Jess, no matter what happened, still went on to lead a life. Because when you're there and you're reading it and you're like, well, I kind of, like, identify as this, and, like, this could be, like, you put yourself in that shoes and go, like, this could be me.
Yeah.
And you stand there and you be like, oh, all of these horrible things are happening. How on earth are they going to get through that? Yeah. And then they do. And then it's like, okay, no matter what happens to me in this day and age where I'm not going to...
I'm never going to have to
Yeah.
face that. If they can make it
That
through that,
makes
I can
sense.
make it through this.
Yeah, exactly. And
Okay.
that was probably what the biggest lesson was for me.
Yeah.
Because then it was like, okay, I'm going to be okay no matter what. Because even when I first started coming out and, like, changing my clothes and stuff,
You were very
I was
nervous.
so scared.
You were very nervous. Like,
Yeah.
I remember the first time that you went for a walk in boys' clothes,
Yeah.
you were afraid.
Yeah.
You were like, oh,
I was
man.
so scared, but I was like, well, you know what? There's people before me who have gone through it. And, like, that makes it okay.
Yeah.
It makes it feel
And
okay.
I mean, nowadays, I do feel like it is more accepted. I do feel like, to some extent, I feel like drag queens really don't get a lot anymore because they are so beloved by so many people. But I do still feel like sometimes mask and butch lesbians can get quite a bit of poking and prodding.
There's less visibility. There's...
Even femme lesbians, like if you think of a lesbian, I hate to say it, you think about kind of almost the porn definition, which is like super femme, like all of them are super femmes, and you know it's directed by some dude.
Yeah.
For dudes.
Yeah.
So it doesn't really surprise you.
Yeah.
But still, I feel like there is not as much visibility for that part of the lesbian community.
Well, lesbians don't get a lot of visibility in general, but
to
I'm
say,
not going
but-
to talk about it.
I hate to say it, but that's very true. I feel like as much as we talk about LGBT, I still feel like gay men are predominant.
Yeah. Did you know what the lesbian flag looked like before me and Charlie came out?
I was aware that there was a different flag. I don't think I was as
I've
aware
never
of it.
seen it before.
Honestly, I didn't know that there was an ace flag until
Yeah.
I really started getting
Yeah.
into the community. Once again, you look at the gay flag, and even now, as much as people say, oh, we're fighting the patriarchy and yada, 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 I still feel like even within the gay community, it is kind of male-run to some extent.
It depends on where you are.
They have more visibility. They have more
Visibility to the public.
I will also argue, though, that as a gay boy or as a gay man, you do probably go through a little bit more because, once again, even severe homophobes seem suddenly okay with women being lesbians. But any sort of femininity from a boy is just immediately stomped out. So I feel like they do have their own struggles. So it is,
there's a lot of struggles with
I think
everyone.
it's fair that they have a lot of exposure, but I definitely feel like there's a lot of stuff in these other communities that does not get talked about.
I know. I'm so glad we're talking about it.
We are finally talking about
Yeah,
it.
I love
But
it.
let us know your thoughts. We would love to connect
Yeah.
a little bit. Message us Instagram, Facebook, all of that
Yeah.
sort of stuff.
Got
We've
everything.
got TikTok. See us on
Yeah.
YouTube. I respond to every single YouTube comment we
Yeah.
get. I love talking to you guys in the comment section, so hit me up. I love it.
If you ever read Stone Butch Blues and want to talk about it with me, hit me up always, anywhere.
Yeah,
Find
for
me.
sure. Make sure to check
Stalk
it out.
me.
It is free online.
It
and
is free online.
With that, I say thank you so much for listening, and we will talk at you in the next episode.
Yes, take it gay by gay, guys.
Bye.